We are back on Fight News Now. It's John Pollock with you, and yes, it is time once again. Robin Black stepping onto the John Ramdine experience this week. Welcome to the big time.
We are talking about the UFC Fight Night shows. We're trying to erase the memory of the main event between Ryan Bader and Ovince St. Preux. And the way that we do that, we look to the future and we have the matchup between former Strikeforce middleweight champion Cung Le and MMA's version of Rodney Dangerfield, Michael Bisping, as he gets no respect, it seems, from the viewing public. Michael Bisping, clearly one of the most talented fighters in mixed martial arts. He's driven, he's skilled on the ground as well as in the stand-up department. No lack of motivation, always comes into his fights prepared, and I'm sure he wants to erase the memory of that last fight to Tim Kennedy. Really didn't get a chance to showcase his skills. As a matter of fact, you had a chance to talk to Michael Bisping at the airport. A little pissed off with his performance.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, I don't know how he felt about OSP versus Ryan Bader, but that fight, he was really angry. We went up to him at the airport. We said, thank you so much for all your great fights. And he kind of looked like, well, thank you, but... And then he just had to tell you how awful it was that this guy wouldn't engage with him, how it was his fault that he made this thing boring. And he's a passionate guy. You forgot to mention gritty as all hell, too. The guy's a born fighter. You know, if you're in the wrong area, in the wrong bar in Britain, and you get into a scuffle with a guy, just make sure it's not Michael Bisping. Also, he is hated by Americans, beloved by Europeans. And Mike, if you're wondering, Canadians love you, too. But this is a fantastic matchup. Cung Le has all kinds of exciting skills, little different skill set, tough to prepare for. Also, you don't really know because what he's been working on, what improvements he's made, because he's fought so infrequently the last couple of years.
Cung Le, 9-2 as a mixed martial arts professional, 8 victories by way of knockout, coming back from that knockout win over Rich Franklin, but it's been a couple of years since Cung Le has been in action. However, you'd never know it by looking at that picture of him that he sent out via social media. Looks in phenomenal shape, and you know that Michael Bisping is going to have a number of comments about Cung Le's appearance leading into this fight. But for Michael Bisping, what does he need to do? You talk about the unorthodox style of Cung Le. What does Bisping need to do? I think patience is an issue for Michael Bisping. It's 5 rounds. We know he sets a pace. Is that the game plan?
Yeah, it's a really interesting fight, technically. It's super cool because there are really 2 distinct game plans that most coaches and fighters try to use in this case. One is the one that Vanderlei used, which I think was a big surprise to Cung Le, because Vanderlei retreated, invited him in, and then eventually met him in the middle with some Vanderlei power, and that was the deal. His nose was a brand new appendage. And the other way to do it is to literally ignore those kinds of things. When he throws them, come forward. That's likely the way that Bisping is going to approach this, because he pretty much always comes forward. But as those techniques happen, you make him pay for throwing the fancy stuff. So he throws crescent kicks and hook kicks. Every time he does, you move into him and make him pay, create some pain, create a little activity in his brain, a response to it that is negative. So that's probably how Bisping will do it, and that always makes for an exciting fight. Somebody gets knocked out often.
It's a huge opportunity for Michael Bisping. If he can manage to stop Cung Le, you would imagine that he would be a part of that 185-pound title picture. All it takes is 1 or 2 big victories and you could find yourself fighting for a title. We got to quickly look at the co-main event because it is a good one. Tyron Woodley taking on the stun gun Dong Young Kim. I know you're very excited about this fight. Why?
Dong Young Kim has lost to Damian Maia and a Carlos Condit flying knee. Every single fight he's in it. Every single fight he's both a grinder and a good striker and a crazy judo thrower. He's exciting. He's smart. And Tyron Woodley is the elite of the elite. He's kind of a double specialist. Great boxing and beautiful takedowns, in phenomenal shape. It's such a good matchup.
What about the consistency for Tyron Woodley? We all know what he's capable of. We've seen when he is on in spades. But the fact is, right now he's 2-2 in the UFC over his last 4 fights. What does he need to do? Is it as simple as, let's just force this guy down to the ground and grind it out for 3 rounds?
It's hard to do with Dong Young Kim, man. That's going to be a tough one. It's a really tough assignment for him. He is the elite of the elite. He's a terrifyingly powerful, explosive. The way he came at Carlos Condit early in their fight before Condit's injury, which he was responsible for, he damaged his leg. So he's got to approach it that way. He's got to throw it out and really go for it. You want to bottle up those successes, but it's really hard to recreate that night after night. The Rich Franklins of the world. Every single night they were Rich Franklin. Tyron Woodley needs to find that gear.
That same night, UFC offering up another show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In the main event, former lightweight champion Ben Henderson taking on the surging Rafael dos Anjos. You look at dos Anjos, the Brazilian, and it's like, okay, this guy's going to be a middle-of-the-pack 155-pound fighter, but he's reinvented himself on a great streak right now. Has a win over Donald Cerrone. If you have a win over Donald Cerrone, you are legit. But he's facing a guy that I believe this will be the 9th 5-round fight he has been scheduled for. The Brazilian, the first time he's scheduled for 5 rounds.
Yeah, and Ben Henderson is going to win rounds 4 and 5, so you got to try to get him out of there. Another great matchup of elite talents. These guys have had a hard time capturing the imagination of fans, but don't doubt their talents, man.
Also, got to love the welterweight matchup between Mike Pyle and Jordan Meehan. We expect that down the road, John, that Jordan will be fighting for a title. What's amazing is that Mike Pyle made his MMA debut in 1999. Jordan Meehan in 2004, I believe, and Jordan Meehan has more fights.
Yeah, and starting his pro career, I believe, at the age of 4, 5 years old.
Like his father, Lee Meehan, is a lunatic.
And I don't think
in a good way.
Mike Pyle and Jordan Meehan are going to provide any anger out of one John Ramdine. He did not like last weekend's main event. Thank you very much. Ramdine and Robin, they will be back Monday night covering both of these cards, 7 p.m. Eastern on 5 rounds with all of the fallout. We are coming back with more as it's time for Sin City 2 on the shift, and we'll fire off another viral video as we continue on Fight News Now.